Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me well? First of all, thank you very much for this undeserved introduction. And I was surprised. I thought we were going to talk in the other room. That's why I wasn't prepared. First, I want to thank you all for coming here, and I appreciate this opportunity. Currently, just so you know what I'm doing now, aside from my involvement in our family business, I'm the chairman of the Federation of Syrian Chambers of Industry in the current government. And this is a volunteer position. I spend my money, I don't make any money. So I just wanted to, so you know where I'm coming from with what I'm going to be talking about. You can hear me all well, right? Okay. What I'm going to be talking about is everybody now in the last year is talking about Syria and the Syrian problem. What happened in Syria was not a typical revolution. I wanted people to know that. It was not a typical revolution against a typical tyrant. It was ridding of something like the worst cancer humanity ever knew. This revolution took 14 years. No revolution took that long. And the pain and the size of that, the impact of that revolution. It was a dictatorship that united all evils of the world. A dictatorship that was the result of all the evils of human mind. It was the compounded scum of Marxism, socialism, fascism, nationalism, religious extremism, crony capitalism, and in the end, even drug trafficking. This is the type of cancer the Syrian people had to deal with. The defunct regime left Syria with almost total paralysis, as no governing systems were functional, including, and most importantly, the economic system. The current state of the Syrian economy is as follows. A sharp decline in production and export, expulsion of most Syrian and non-Syrian investors and producers of all types away from Syria, high unemployment, naturally, widespread poverty, naturally, because of high unemployment, and destitution among the majority of Syrians, which is very foreign to this country. This country never had hunger in its history. Damascus is 10,000 years old. It's the oldest continuously inhabited capital in the world. Never had hunger. Massive energy shortages, electricity and fossil fuel. This was the state that we had to deal with the day of the collapse of that criminal regime. On the other hand, there are many advantages for Syria to be leveraged, to be able to stimulate the economy. There is a lot, and that's we as entrepreneurs always look at the bright side of things. We have a trained labor force. Syria historically had always been the hub of trade in the region and the hub of manufacturing in the region. And in Islam, everybody probably learned this, the Rihlat al-Shita wal-Sayf, the winter and summer trip that the Prophet Muhammad and his companions used to make. And they used to come to Syria to buy their manufactured goods at that time. We had no iPhones at that time, but we had some pots and pans and swords and God knows fabric and clothes and all kinds of manufactured goods. So we have a history of industrial culture. We have a loyal and highly ethical labor force. Our job turnover is very low in Syria. People get a job and they stay in it, as long as you treat them like humans. We have a high percentage of youth. We have expertise acquired by displaced Syrians who were forced to leave, and they worked in other factories in other places. So there is more cross-pollination of the Syrian expertise in industries and in agriculture and in services. Large Syrian capital abroad. Syrians are, in general, well off. Wherever they go, they work and they make money. Syrian entrepreneurs are known for their dynamism and creativity, recognized by foes before friends. We have a unique geographic location. We are on the eastern side of the Mediterranean. We link Asia and Africa and the Gulf region. We have a mild and diverse Mediterranean weather. Like we have at least 10 months of nice weather. Extremely rich in diversity, the population. We are an ancient melting pot. We have people from all denominations, all cultures living in Syria for hundreds and thousands of years. So these are all things positive to capitalize on. What is urgently needed now to reduce unemployment, remember we have unemployment. Today's goal in the economy should be combating poverty, which is very foreign to the country. In order to do that, you have to reduce unemployment. We do not believe in turning poor people into beggars. Their dignity is more important. So provide them with jobs so they make their living with dignity. So we have to combat unemployment. In order to combat unemployment, we need to attract investments. So, therefore, it's neither sufficient nor wise to copy economically stable countries that do not require fast growth. We have no luxury of time. We need to stimulate the economy as fast as possible. This is our first and foremost economic goal. Instead, we should draw from the experiences of countries that suffered similar devastations, such as Germany and Japan post-World War II. In contrast, the economic policies followed in communist Germany brought only destitution and poverty and injustice. Thus, the overarching principle is to create an investment attractive environment based on the easiest ways of doing business. I had a conversation with the current president and I told him I want us to be in the number one spot in the Fraser Institute's classifications of countries or in the Heritage Foundation. Number one, I said, not number two. He said, why not number two? It's not bad. We are 180. So you can imagine how hopeful that goal is. I said, I want us to be the talk of the world. People don't look at 2 and 3. They only look at number one, right? Of course, he didn't care. So anyways, to achieve this, I suggested at that time the following, not as a comprehensive list, but as a starting point for ideas that can lead to rapid economic growth. Once an acceptable level of economic activity is reached, some of these policies may be adjusted because the goal is changed. Today, our goal is to eliminate poverty and eliminate unemployment, or not reduce it, to be more precise. First, the first thing anybody I suggest that they do in this situation is to limit the size of government. I always say it, the less a bureaucrat works, the more productive he is. Because bureaucrats ask for obstacles. Stamp this, sign it up there, send it to this guy, it didn't receive it, it's in the, blah, 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 and people are waiting. They're not producing. So you tell him, stay home, enjoy your life, and let us work, please, okay? So limit the government's role to only essential functions such as internal and external security and the judiciary. And by the way, these three things are a total failure, but we accept them while biting our tongue because, it's a necessity. The goal is to reduce the government's need for funds and thus lower taxes. Lower taxes attract more people, right? So the first and foremost goal is not to burden producers with heavy taxes. Stimulate the economy by reviving its industrial, agricultural, and service sectors through eliminating all fees on the needs of industry, agriculture, and construction. Eliminate. I call always for elimination of all customs duties on all raw materials or quasi raw materials or pseudo raw materials or anything that looks remotely like raw materials. Because sometimes, some protectionists like to play that game. To avoid misinterpretation and corruption. When you have multiple options, then you open the way for corruption. This policy provides real and sustainable support for productive sectors. These sectors should contribute to the treasury, not rely on it. Because everybody says, I need you to support local industry. Well, who's going to support it? We have empty coffers. We sold the knobs even. There's nothing in there. So it's our duty as businesses to feed the coffers of the government, not to take away from it. Establish an authority tasked with implementing a vision for an attractive investment environment. This authority should have power over all executive bodies, ministries, administrations, and municipalities. Because if we say we are pro business, ease of doing business, and then any government employee that dictates some new regulation could negatively impact that goal. So we need to have an authority like the maestro of a philharmonic orchestra. If somebody goes out of note, then go back. You're not allowed to do that. This is to ensure coordination towards creating a business-friendly environment. This was established actually by default by the revolutionaries, but I have some reservations about their experience because sometimes they're making the wrong decisions that are out of sync with the policy that the president is talking about, and that is the reason for me to be involved actually. State revenue should primarily comes from sales tax, not from customs duties on local purchases. This tax could exclude essential goods to support low-income individuals. Additional government income can come from a low, flat income tax not exceeding 10%. By the way, the new law is probably the friendliest tax law in the world. We have 10% flat rate on industries, 15% on trade, 0% on certain agricultural products. This will be applied this year, 2026. So this low uniform rate significantly reduces tax evasion, increases collection, and prevents corruption. And this is what we are working on now. Elect local councils. You need to activate local governments by introducing democracy into it so people can hold them accountable, those local governments, instead of being appointed by central government, which has been the case to give power to the dictator. This will take away that power from him. Enable banks to fully carry out their functions as in all free market economies, because they were controlled by the government too, and they were completely paralyzed, and that's not good for business. Sell off. I am probably the lone voice of demanding forcefully to sell off all government-owned companies, because they were owned with Marxist ideology. Government has no place in the economy, absolutely no place. Government is like a referee in a game. It doesn't hold the ball, it doesn't score, it doesn't do anything. We are the players. That's what I push for. The resistance I'm getting is that they want the government to be a partner. I say, you are changing your job in the market, but you're still in the market. You are turning from being a producer of shoes and milk into a real estate developer. You're still in business. I want you out of business. You are a failure, government, in economics. Simplify company formation and dissolution procedures. That's what we're working on. It's to eliminate red tape. Activate the judiciary and ensure its impartiality by creating a separation of powers so it can resolve disputes fairly and quickly. Hold regular meetings with chambers of commerce, industry, and agriculture to identify and address obstacles facing their members. Establish a dedicated office and website to receive suggestions for combating unnecessary red tape and bureaucracy, and work on removing difficulties. Many of these have been achieved, many of them. Some deviations are still currently in place, delaying progress. I'm involved voluntarily to help in making sure my ideas are implemented as fully as possible. Syria today is clean from the thuggery of the left, and its way to go back among the most prosperous countries in the world. Thank you.